Man, so I was on YouTube. Uh, I watched a couple of seconds of this Fanon person talking. I guess he was having a debate with Low Place, and I guess they was talking about the Wilder and Joshua shit. I seen that shit. I was like, I don't know why Low Place is trying to appeal to these guys. I guess Low Place was trying to appeal to their reasoning skills. But I mean, you already stepped in shit. Like if Low Place ever sees this shit, you already stepped in shit talking to them motherfuckers, man. The fuck you thought you was gonna get a straight answer out of them guys? Like one motherfucker think he Greg Mathis, and another motherfucker, I don't know, he sound like Fredro Starr or somebody. I don't know who that motherfucker was, man. But here's the bottom line, dog. I heard so much just BS, and I don't know. I don't know how he didn't counteract that. Maybe they was turning off his mic or something. I don't know, because a lot of that shit was elementary, dog. You can't believe the pay-per-view estimates. They can't. What the fuck? You believe in what they say about Wilder? So the fuck, if you want to believe what they say about Joshua, go ahead. You believe in what they say about Wilder? I don't know, man. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all something. This whole Wilder versus Joshua shit is disgusting. I don't even like talking about it anymore because, for me, it just opens up a clown car of ridiculous and stupid fucking arguments. It really does. You don't get 50% just because you fucking asked for it. This is boxing. This is prize fighting. It ain't never been that way. You don't get 50% just because you asked for it, you dumb motherfuckers. I don't care how many convoluted arguments upon convoluted arguments upon more convoluted arguments. I don't give a fuck how much of that shit y'all motherfuckers pump into your channels and shit. Because I see a lot of that. I see people do that in the comments. I see people do that in channels. And the real bottom line is you don't get 50% just because you asked for it. And if you really want to see who got the marquee value, let Wilder fight somebody not named Tyson Fury on pay-per-view. Why hasn't he done it before? I don't know. I had half a mind to jump on, but then I realized at the end of the day, these guys are not trying to appeal to anybody's reasoning or hierarchy of thought. All they're trying to do is create an argument to where it's okay for Deontay Wilder to price himself out. You got to get to the base of this shit. That's literally what it is. You're trying to create an argument to where it's okay for Deontay Wilder to price himself out. That's all you're doing. Oh, you want 50%. Oh, I want a motherfucking Lambo. Good luck. What do you think of Heather Hardy claiming gender pay gap in boxing and sexism? I honestly believe I would like to see female fighters get paid more money, but at the end of the day, the marquee value of the fighter and what that fighter earns is determined by the fans and the fan appeal. These are not, this is not, it's not a salary job. It's not an hourly job. You get what you can generate. So if, I've seen the argument. I've seen Clarissa Shields say that shit. I've seen a lot of female fighters say that shit. And it's not saying that women shouldn't get paid what men get paid, but you gotta understand that you getting paid based on what you could generate. It's not salary that they paying motherfuckers. They paying you based on what you could generate. So if that's what you generated, that's what you get. Now, if you could raise your marquee value to where a lot of people are coming out to see you fight, and a lot of people is talking about you and all of that, that's what's going to determine it. That's really what's going to go into it. Nah, my voice ain't that high. I only speed up the audio so I could fit more into the videos. I speed up the audio so I could condense the videos. That's why it be sounding like that, because I speed up the audio so I could condense the size of the video. That way it ain't a 30-minute video or, or a 20-minute video. I appreciate that, y'all. But yeah, man, this Wilder versus I'm sick of this shit. Like, I'm tired of this shit. I really am, because to me, it's ridiculous. It seems like a lot of what these guys are saying is trying to create an environment or a narrative to where it's okay for Deontay Wilder to ask for 50%. And now the crutch that they're standing on is because he was on pay-per-view. But he was asking for 50% before he ever was on pay-per-view. And y'all was okay with that. At the end of the day, what you gotta realize is these guys are gonna argue for Deontay Wilder no matter what. I don't know if they look at him as a father figure or some weird freak shit like that. I really think it is some weird freak shit like that, because I never seen something so anomalous. I never seen such a self-entitled fighter have so many yes men and sycophants licking his fucking nuts. I never seen nothing like that. You know, Floyd Mayweather, for example, has fanatics. But Floyd Mayweather is a fighter that earned his way. He made sacrifices. He made a sacrifice when he fought Oscar De La Hoya, because he knew if he wins that fight, he's going to be in a different position after that. He made sacrifices for that. Deontay Wilder was guided around the whole goddamn heavyweight division for how many years? How the fuck could you have been in the heavyweight division for that long and you didn't bump into a Samuel Peter or a Derek Chisora or a fucking Kubrat Pulev? How could you have been around that amount of time and you ain't fought one of them? It's insane to me what's going on in the boxing world these days, man. It's insane to me. They look at him as the ambassador of the culture, and he's like a fucking civil rights hero, when all I see is a greedy motherfucker. That's all I see. You just a greedy motherfucker. Period. You self-entitled, you greedy, and you're protected. Ain't enough videos these motherfuckers make that's going to change what Shelly Finkel said. It ain't enough videos you can make that's going to change what that man said out of his own mouth. I hope that somebody screenshots this, records this, and sends it to one of those guys so they can watch it. It ain't enough videos you can make that's going to change what Shelly Finkel said. I have never seen any other champion out there get referred to as a baby and prospect with 30 plus professional fights and a world title. I have never seen that shit. But it's okay, because it's Deontay, right? It's okay, because it's him. Suck my dick, man. That motherfucker's on borrowed time anyway. That's the reality of this shit. That's why you're noticing that this is getting to a fever pitch. But it's because that motherfucker's on borrowed time. He on borrowed time. It's the reality of it. I have never seen a guy get called a baby champion when you got 30 plus pro fights as a professional. Not only did you medal in the Olympics, but you got 30 something fights as a professional and you a baby? What the fuck? I ain't never heard no shit like that. I haven't. I don't know if y'all have, but I haven't. You get my motherfucking charger. It's ridiculous. To me, it's ridiculous, to be honest. It's just ridiculous. I could tell that whatever the fascination they have with Deontay Wilder, it's really not boxing related. It's not because of his boxing, because the motherfucker really, do I gotta say it? It ain't boxing related. I'm gonna tell y'all that motherfucking shit. It ain't that. They look at him as like, oh, that's my big bro with some fucking weirdo, I need a therapist bullshit. Like that's really what it is, because it ain't boxing. At the end of the day, in the sport of boxing, if you gonna ask for 50%, you better goddamn well be worth something like 50%. You gotta be pulling that in. You see what I'm pulling in? You gotta pull in something comparable if you want a percentage like that. Manny Pacquiao was already an established pay-per-view attraction before he ever fought Floyd Mayweather. He ain't even get 50% in that fucking fight. Gennady Golovkin was on pay-per-view how many times? What, 2 times before he ever fought Canelo? But all he got was 30%. So where the fuck did Deontay Wilder get the nerve that he can ask for 50% and you just now popping up on a pay-per-view and all it did was roughly 325,000 buys? Roughly. Like, enough is enough, man. I got half a mind to go on one of their channels and challenge one of them motherfuckers, man. I got half a mind to do that shit. I ain't low place, man. I ain't low place. I'm gonna make you look silly on your channel. If I could run the Precise Pretender out of boxing, god damn it, I want to run these motherfuckers out of boxing too. I want to run these guys out of boxing. Period. I think Wilder and Heyman paying some. Paying some what? Paying some what? What's goody, Tawks? there's no way in hell that you just ask for 50% and get it. Boxing has never been that way. And what it seems to be is that they're creating a narrative to where it's okay for Wilder to hold out for a percentage that he's like, bro, like, why are you even asking for that? Instead of asking, why are you asking for a percentage like that, knowing that that's not what you're worth, though? One, you're not worth that. Two, you don't pull that in. You don't pull that in. These are the facts. You do not pull in 50% of an Anthony Joshua fight. Like, you literally don't. You don't. If you was on that pay-per-view with anybody but Tyson Fury, do you think it would have did 325,000 buys? Think about it. Do you think they even would have put it on pay-per-view if it wasn't Fury? If that's the case, then why they ain't put you and Areola on the pay-per-view? Why they ain't put you and Duapis on the pay-per-view? You and Spilker. You and fucking and Stavern, part 2. Why ain't they put that on the pay-per-view? Somebody sent me a clip of Fanny, Fanon, my fault, I said Fanny. Somebody sent me a clip of him trying to say that Tyson Fury had nothing to do with the pay-per-view sale, something along those lines. He said something that why would people try to say Fury helped sell the pay-per-view when he has no U.S. profile? Well, they never put Wilder on the pay-per-view before that, right? I mean, they didn't put him on the pay-per-view with Stavern both times. Those wasn't pay-per-view. This is first pay-per-view. He got 40-something fights. So for you to think that Fury had nothing to do with that, well, that's just, I mean, I don't even know how to explain how childish that shit is. I've gotten blocked for simple disagreements and jokes. What's really going on is they're trying to create an environment where it's okay for Deontay Wilder to duck because it looks like that's what he's about to do. They're trying to create an environment to where it's okay for him to hold out for 50% and fight other people, even in the event that Tyson Fury decides not to fight. That's what they're trying to do. You can see what they're trying to do. They're looking at Tyson Fury, and they're looking at the talks that are going on, and they see that, at minimum, it's a possibility that the guys might not fight. Maybe. I'm not saying they will or won't, but what they're seeing is what the reports are saying, that Fury might be getting cold feet, that he's saying that, you know what, you should fight fucking Joshua. Why don't y'all fight each other? They're seeing that shit. And what they're seeing is an environment to where, okay, if Fury don't fight, who's Wilder gonna fight? AJ's right there, but he's trying to hold out for 50%. So we gotta create a narrative and an argument that makes it okay for him to hold out for 50%, even though he don't deserve that. Your pay-per-view numbers don't tell a story of you deserving 50%. This is not the Salvation Army. This ain't welfare, this ain't Medicaid. Ain't shit free out here, that's prize fighting. And you do not deserve 50%. No way, not based on your pay-per-view buy, sorry. Sell a couple more, maybe you'll get there. It might take you a while, you might get beat, but you do not. Fuck out of here. I mean, Wilder has been mismanaged most of his career, to be honest, if you really think about it. He would have made more money in the UK, but they don't want to take a chance going over there to fight Fury. If the fight would have took place in the UK, I guarantee you it would have did more pay-per-view buys and more at the gate. It would have did way more money. It would have. That's a given. But they protect this guy so much, they rather have it over here, even though it's worth less money over here. I don't understand how these guys can make video after video after video about this shit, but don't talk about how Forbes magazine reported that 10 million people stole that fight, and 2 million of them were right here in America. I don't know how you can sit there and make videos about the same fucking fight that ain't about to happen every fucking day, but you don't tell nobody that you know Forbes magazine said these motherfuckers, 10 million fucking people stole that fight, dog. And in America, an estimated only 325,000 actually bought it. And we don't know that because they're still counting. They said it should max out, which means when they reported that, it wasn't even there yet. They said it should max out in 3 months at about 325,000 buys. So that means when y'all released that report, it wasn't there yet. Because you said it should. Because it hasn't yet. Right. Yeah, right. personally, if I was Tyson Fury, I'd push to have this shit in the UK. If I was Tyson Fury, why not? I fought in your backyard. The fuck's your problem? You can't fight in mine. I fought in yours. Shit, I made all the sacrifices. I ain't fought a world level opponent in like 3 years. Why you can't fight in the UK? I can fight in America, but you can't fight in the UK. Is that how it works? Hey, some people don't think he won that fight, man. I don't know. I stay away from the contentious stuff because the contentious stuff falls on beliefs and opinions and being emotionally invested. And I'm none of those things. I'm not relying on opinions when I say that the only reports that are out there put the ballpark figure for the pay-per-view at 325,000 buys in 2 more months. That's what the reports say. If you know better than the reports, then show me your sources. You got the inside track, huh? You know better than them. Okay, so show me your credentials since I'm supposed to believe you instead of them. Because that's what you're going to have to end up asking these guys. When you pull up the actual information, when you pull it up, they don't really like that shit. So they try to create alternate facts, alternate arguments that rely on hypothetical situations. And it's all just convoluted bullshit because the reports don't say none of the shit that you're saying. It don't say none of that. You making all that bullshit up. Well, I know that Rick Glacier, he put the number at about 278,000, and I'm inclined to believe him, but only because it's corroborated by the reports that were released. That the reports that were released, they said that in 3 months after all the buys are tallied, it should max out at 325,000 buys. Well, coincidentally, the same time that report was released, Rick Glacier released his statement, and he said the buys was really 278,000. So that makes sense that, yeah, it's not at 325,000, not yet. It's a lot of silliness, man. But you gotta look at at the same time, you gotta look at who's arguing for Wilder, man. The dude that was on that debate with Low Place, he literally sat there and said that Anthony Joshua ducked Luis Ortiz to fight Vladimir. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that one. In fact, I'm going to go back and I'm going to screen record it and I'm going to do a video on that to highlight how Wilder's fans really be thinking they know what they're talking about. How the fuck could Anthony Joshua have ducked Luis Ortiz when he ain't have the WBA title yet? That don't even make sense. Wouldn't that just be the ultimate plot twist? Wouldn't that be the plot twist? Brazil knocks Wilder out. Thank God. Wouldn't that be the ultimate plot twist? I heard that shit too, Rodnell. I heard that shit. And I believe it. I do believe it. I believe it. I'm going to record that shit, and I'm going to make a little 6-minute segment on it. Like, how the fuck could Anthony Joshua have ducked Ortiz to fight Vladimir when he had to fight Vladimir to get the belt? He couldn't have ducked Ortiz to fight Vladimir. That shit don't even make sense. You know. It's a lot of strange shit that goes on, man. Because I'm like, I don't like, you watch this shit enough that you want to argue about it, but it doesn't sound like you know what you're talking about. Ortiz didn't become his mandatory till after he beat Vladimir. So how could he have ducked him to fight Vladimir? He had to fight Vladimir in order for him to become his mandatory. Nobody had the belt. It was vacant. Like, what's he the man? Shit, Pulev was already his mandatory for like, I think, a year. Something like that. It was a lot of months. I think it was like a year. It was close to a year. Before Ortiz even came into the shit. I don't know, man. It's wild out here, man. Like it's a lot of, like I said, it's a lot of silly shit. It's like you care enough to argue about this shit, but you don't care enough to make sense. That's not the first time I heard somebody say that too. That's why I think that must be a narrative that those guys peddle. That Anthony Joshua ducked Luis Ortiz to fight Vladimir, even though He had to fight Vladimir in order for Ortiz to even come into the picture. Ortiz was high in the ranks via the WBA. Before Joshua beat Vladimir, that belt was vacant. Like, I don't even know, man. I don't even know, man. It's like I said, it's wild out here, man. The whole air around that fight, it don't feel like they arguing about a fight. It feel like they arguing about some old, like, they got some shit in their chest, like, they just don't like that Anthony Joshua got an accent or some shit. But you know, losers going to side with losers, betas going to side with betas, and winners going to side with winners because winners understand winning, and losers only understand losing. Beggars only understand begging. So when you see Wilder is over there begging for 50% or he ain't going to fight, you going to think that shit look cool because that's some bullshit that you would do. Even though if you really had confidence in yourself, you take the fight because you know you're going to beat him, right? You confident in yourself. You believe in yourself. So take that fight and beat him. After you beat him, you the A side. That's how it's always been. It ain't never been different. AJ was fighting for unified titles, WBA and the other one. Ortiz would have had to fight Vlad. Yeah. That's how it would have, yeah. Can't see that happening, though. Yeah, I don't see that happening either, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's a lot of just. This is why I say that, like, I don't know why Low Place went over there trying to talk to them guys, man. I seen the shit and I'm like, why he went over there to talk to them guys when he know they just gonna play with his mic and try to talk over him. And then when it's his turn or whatever, if he try to talk, they just gonna mute him. I don't know why he went over there, but this shit is not. I don't really think this is gonna end well, but you know, it is what it is, man. That's one fucking fight. It's just that they view Wilder as being something more than what he is. When all I see is a greedy motherfucker. You just greedy. You Aaron Pryor in yourself, kind of. You Aaron Pryor in yourself. You know, it's rumored that Vladimir may come back. I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. You know, heavyweights, they don't rely on speed and reflexes as much, relatively speaking, as smaller fighters. So it's not, you know, like that's why George Foreman was able to do what he did. That's why Larry Holmes at like 40-something years old was able to beat Ray Mercer. And that was after Ray Mercer beat the dog shit out of Tommy Morrison. Heavyweights don't rely on speed and reflexes as much as the little guys. So a dude that's like 41, he could come back. He's 41, 42, he could come back. He maybe beat a couple of guys. You know, I don't know if he can win a belt, but he can beat a couple of guys. Those dummies are telling people to report everyone that comes on there. I'm just too negative, or is it curious that I never hear TV ratings of any boxing match in America compared and contrasted with the ratings of other popular American TV programming? He eating potatoes? You gotta stop eating potatoes, man. He bugging out. Like, he really trying to talk sense to them guys, man. He trying to... Look, nothing against Black Fight Fan TV. Seems like a nice guy. But he's another dude that's a liar. So why would you go up to a liar to try to get to the truth? He another dude that he a liar. Like, he be lying. He said that Danny Jacobs' numbers was better under Al Heyman than they was under Eddie Hearn. That's a bold-faced lie. You can look up them numbers yourself. You can literally look up them numbers yourself. Daniel Jacobs versus Maciej Sulecki did more numbers on HBO than Jarrett Hurd versus Erislandy Lara. I shit you not. Did more numbers than that. Did more numbers than Mikey Garcia versus, Sergey Lipinets. These is facts. None of this shit is opinions. I know y'all don't want to hear my opinion, because I definitely don't be wanting to hear other people's opinion. All I want to hear is what the facts are. Then you can tell me what your opinion is. And it's not my opinion that he did better numbers under Eddie Hearn than he did under Al Heyman in the PBC. The Peter Quillen versus Daniel Jacobs fight. Go look up the numbers for that shit. Go look them up. I ain't even going to tell you. Go look them up. You can't go up to bold-faced liars trying to talk some true shit. They ain't trying to hear that. I don't bother with the Joshua versus Wilder saga. too many other fighters. Yeah, that's another thing, man. Like, that's another thing. Like, that's one fucking fight, bro. If the fight happen, it happen. If it don't happen, it don't happen. But we all know why. We know who's to blame. What I mean is, I suspect boxing doesn't even get as good ratings as reruns of the Wonder Years. But perhaps I'm being... Now, you might be onto something, Mr. Doc. You might be onto something. You see, the problem with boxing in America really is the price point. The price point is the problem. Americans have been getting gouged for pay-per-views for many, many years now. So for you to bring boxing to the forefront of American sports, the price point really does have to change. Especially in this era where you don't have to pay to see the fight. You really don't. You could get you a Fire Stick. You could watch that shit on Instagram. You could watch that shit on Facebook the night of the fight. You could literally watch a fight for free. There are so many ways to watch a fight for free these days. It don't even make sense for anybody to be charged $75. That's just dumb. Now, if you change the price point and lower it down to an amount that is reasonable, that people will be willing to pay, you will end up making more money as a result instead of charging so much that you're deterring customers. Because these guys that's out here, they ain't Floyd Mayweather, and they ain't Manny Pacquiao, and they ain't Oscar De La Hoya. This ain't the 2000s, the 90s, or the 80s. That era is over. These motherfuckers out here smart. They'll figure out how to watch that fight for free. Now, no, he wasn't doing the same numbers, Ty. Please don't make me pull up the numbers for you, Ty. He wasn't doing the same numbers. He did something like 300 or 400. I think it was 300 or 400,000 with Quiller. The highest numbers that Danny Jacobs ever got for a fight was under Eddie Hearn. And the numbers that he was getting with Heyman are not comparable to the numbers he was getting with Eddie Hearn. With Eddie Hearn, he almost hit 1 million views. Almost. 800 and something thousand on HBO. And this is at a time where HBO was circling the drain. But that many people decided to watch the fight. All of these are facts. Yep, and especially when we all know how much less pay... Yeah, I mean, look at what the guys in the UK are paying for a pay-per-view. Roughly by $25. But they charging us over here $75. And you don't see... And these motherfuckers, they don't see a problem with that. They'll sit there on a channel and try to bash an app that only costs $10 a month. This is how brainwashed they are. But it's like, I get it, man. Like, you want to feel like you a part of something. You know what I mean? Like, you got issues. You got, like, there's motherfuckers out here that got childhood issues, and they use boxing as a vehicle to I guess, find therapy for them issues, man. You know what I mean? The Zone, ESPN, the way things are going. Look, boxing as a sport belongs on regular television. It really does belong there. And I think Al Heyman had kind of got away from what he was trying to do with the PBC, because the PBC wasn't always on premium cable channels. He kind of got away with that, and the viewership, if you look at the view numbers for PBC's fights in 2018, only recently, with the Charlo triple header, only recently did they hit a number like that, because every other card that they showed this year was pulling in low numbers. Every other card. Yeah, my camera is like a broken potato. That's true. It's like a broken potato. Motherfucker hear that shit and say something like, oh, you hate and you hate. And motherfucker, I'm just telling you the truth. If you ever get to the point where you feel annoyed that somebody's telling you the truth, it's something wrong with you. Nah, that ain't a joint, man. I don't smoke weed, man. You know what I'm saying? To me, it's a lot of silliness. And I legitimately wonder how long... You see, PBC's got a good roster of fighters right now. They do. They do. But it's not, how could I put it? it's they got a good hold on the welterweight division, decent hold over the junior middleweight division. The thing is that Jared Hurd plans on moving up after next year. I mean, after this year, he plans on moving up. And you know that Jamel Charlo's eventually going to move up too. After those guys move up, what do they got? What do they got? I mean, I'm of the opinion that the reason they're dragging so many of these fights out, and the reason they're prolonging so many of these fights, is because they don't have a contingency. What is the contingency in the welterweight division? Top Rank has a big pool of fighters. They do. They're just not all known fighters, but they have a big pool of fighters to choose from. And more importantly, they're willing to work with Golden Boy, and they're willing to work with Matchroom and just other promoters that are out there. Whereas PBC wants to maintain a certain level of exclusivity. That already limits what you got. Somebody told me that Triple G left Tom Loeffler. That was a good move. If he did. That was a good fucking move if he left Tom Loeffler. Like, man, you got to get the fuck away from that guy, man. Motherfucker got you giving up belts to fight Vanez. You still chasing around fucking Canelo. I know Triple G was probably like, man, fuck that kid, man. I'll sit with this draw. Fuck that kid. But Tom Loeffler probably, he probably finessed him. I agree with that Hawker Mustang, because it looks like that's what they really tried to do. They really look like they tried to corner all the talent, but boxing is far too fucking big for you to try to do that. "100%, Leon, you absolutely right. It's the price point that's really, it's not like Deontay Wilder's issue, for example. It's a bigger issue than just him. One, you're not a marquee fighter. Don't let these guys lie to you. You're not a marquee fighter. You're not. But more importantly, the price point is an even bigger problem, because so long as they keep trying to put you on pay-per-views to sell fights, people are going to look at that price and they're going to say, no, I'm not paying that. Shit, a lot of Wilder's fans didn't buy that fight, bro. For all these motherfuckers you find on YouTube talking about the shit, you got guys that got channels, right, that they got like 10,000. 200,000 or something like that. They got mad subscribers. Where the fuck was all y'all at when it was time to buy the fight? Like, where was y'all at? I ain't buy that shit. I know I ain't buy that motherfucker. I said I wasn't gonna buy that motherfucker. Like, I ain't want that fight. That fight, I don't want that fight. Suck a dick. I'm not buying that fight. The PBC has a couple of good fighters. I'm not gonna shit on the PBC. I'm not gonna shit on the fighters because of the PBC's business practices. Jared Hurd is a good fighter. Badu Jack is a good fighter. Mikey Garcia is probably their best. I would say that he's one of their best, if not the very best they got. 4-division champion, undefeated. Fought the same guys that Vasil Lomachenko fought, and then some. Fought a lot of undefeated champions. Motherfucker sneeze at that shit, but hey, if it's easy, then how come everybody ain't doing it? If it's easy, how come everybody ain't doing it? If it's easy, that motherfucker can fight. Errol Spencer's a good fighter. It's just he changed. The same applies to Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is a good fighter. He could fight on the front foot. He could fight on the back foot. He could punch and he could box. He's a good fighter. They got a lot of good fighters. It's what they're doing to these fighters' careers that's the problem. How the fuck you gonna have a guy as young as Gervonta Davis sit on the shelf for the majority of 2018? How is that a good idea? How is that helping? The only reason motherfuckers even talk about him at all is because of Twitter. Literally, that's literally the only reason. Because he be on Twitter saying shit. Khan better break. Yeah. He better. But he gonna get knocked the fuck out, bro. Well, this is what I'm gonna say to Fox Strikes. Ring rust is real. Ring rust is a real thing. Gervonta Davis has not faced a legitimate 130-pound fighter in a while. The last guy he fought was Cuellar. Cuellar hadn't fought in 2 years. So you already coming off of a very easy one and you ain't do nothing after that. Then you got Mahrez And I'm not saying that Mahrez is going. I'm not saying that Mahrez is going to win or this and that. But you got to consider that. Look, Javante ain't fought in a while. Mahrez is a little bit more experienced than him, so there's an avenue for it to be more competitive than you think it is. But the only reason it's competitive is because one, Javante Davis is not what y'all making him out to be. Two, he's been inactive the majority of 2018. Three, the guy that he did fight was not a 130-pound fighter, not a top contender at all. Y'all literally found a guy from out of nowhere to give Javante Davis a vacant title. A title that should have went to Alberto Machado. That shit should have went out. I don't know. I don't even understand how they could do that in front of everybody and don't nobody say nothing. They robbed that kid. That title should be with Machado right now. It's not. Well, this is the thing. Canelo is a boxer puncher with an affinity for counterpunching. So a guy like Jarrett Hurd, in spite of his size, his aggressiveness is what Canelo Alvarez likes. Aggressive fighters play into Canelo's strengths. The way, I mean, you see what Mayweather did, right? Mayweather's a pure boxer, hit and not get hit. That's gonna throw Canelo off more than a guy that keeps trying to stand in front of him and unload punches, because then Canelo could work off the counter. So Jarrett Hurd being big and being aggressive, I don't think that'll work out too good for him. Not against Canelo. I got Uzcategui, man. And I like Caleb Plant. I wouldn't be mad at all if Caleb Plant proves me wrong. But Caleb Plant has the appearance of a pure boxer. And a pure boxer against a pressure fighter is a bad style matchup for the pure boxer. Because this motherfucker's not going to stop coming after you. You want to fight a pot shot fight, a slow fight. You trying to sharpshoot him. He not giving you the chance. He's a moving target that keeps trying to stand in front of you. So you're going to have to be on the move, and that's going to come at the cost of your offense. The fact you keep having to reset, you keep having to move around the ring, it's going to affect you. If Caleb Plant was more of a puncher, then I would give it to Plant. But he's really, he looked like a pure boxer. Hit and not get hit, very economic, throws one at a time, not a big combination puncher. It looked like Uzcategui might win that fight. I'm leaning towards Manny, man. Same principle, bro. Same principle. Manny Pacquiao is not the fighter that he used to be, but at the end of the day, he is still an action fighter, and he is still a volume guy. We saw what Broner looked like with Vargas. How many times did Vargas have to punch Broner in the stomach before Broner decided to fight back? Think about it. I invite you to go back and watch the Vargas versus Broner fight. Vargas is nowhere near the puncher that Manny Pacquiao is. In terms of punch, Vargas is a good fighter. I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on him. He's a good fighter. But what he don't got is punching power. And Vargas was landing a lot of shots before Broner decided to get into the fight. If you let Manny do that shit, Manny hit way harder than fucking Jesse Vargas, man. You can't let Manny hit you like that. Broner got a bad habit of letting guys outwork him. Broner hit hard. Broner got a good chin. He got shit working for him. He take a good punch. But he be letting guys outwork him. And that's always been, that's the downfall that he got. Look at the guys that he beat. Look at the guys that beat him. Chino Maidana, pressure fighter. Sean Porter, pressure fighter. Mikey Garcia, however, is not a pressure fighter. But even Mikey Garcia upped the tempo. He upped the volume. He kept nailing Broner over and over. Mikey Garcia is not a pressure fighter. But even he knew, as long as I keep him coming, Broner just going to be on the defensive the whole night. He's not going to do nothing. I see Anthony Joshua knocking him out, and I think that people are going to be surprised that maybe it comes easier than they thought it would. I think that people view that fight a certain way. I told everybody this ahead of the Lomachenko versus Rigo fight, and I love how all of a sudden Rigo's fans just evaporated after the fight. When there was so many people talking shit to me and cursing me out before the fight. What happened to all those people? What happened to them? And I'm going to say about the Wilder versus Joshua fight, what I said about that fight. Y'all not being realistic with yourselves. You're not. You're not really thinking about the fight. Joshua can punch and he could box. Wilder got one out, the right hand. Look at how long it took for him to find Fury with the right hand. Look at how long. 100% Hawker Mustang. They all forgot about Rigo. I agree with you, James Erickson. That sounds about right. And I'm noticing that in these kinds of fights that go past the first couple of rounds, around the seventh or the eighth, Deontay Wilder actually starts to tire. People don't really realize that. You do realize Wilder's missing punches, right? And you do know that when you miss punches, it costs you twice as much energy than if you would have at least caught him on the arms. If you would have hit something. What Brazil got working for him in that fight is that he's durable, but he doesn't have much else. That's the problem. He's a durable guy. He takes a good punch, and he's got that. He's got toughness, but yeah. Surprisingly, right, Akuma? Go back and watch the seventh and the eighth round. Go back and watch the seventh and the eighth round. And go back and watch the seventh and the eighth round of Wilder versus Ortiz. Nah, Broner's is not a brawler, bro. Broner's is not a brawler. Nah, not at all. If he was, he would win more fights. He's really not a brawler. He's not. He tries to be a pure boxer, and it don't work for you. You shouldn't do that. You hit hard. You got a good chin. You should be more of a boxer puncher. You should be more of that. Stop trying to finesse fight these guys. You hit harder than a couple of these guys. But it don't mean nothing if you don't let your hands go. You can hit hard as George Foreman. But if you don't throw no goddamn punches, it ain't gonna mean nothing. Broner always had that same problem. You be letting these guys outwork you. Always letting them outwork you. It depends on who he fights. It depends on who Usyk fights. Believe it or not, a guy like Dillian Whyte could be a long night for Usyk. If Dillian Whyte gets on the front foot, it could be a long night for Usyk. It could. Dillian Whyte gonna be able to take them punches, man. He's gonna be able to. Your bet is gonna have to be to win on points, because I don't see you knocking him out. It's crazy. We watching AJ going into his prime. He just got there by 32. No one will want smoke. I agree with that. I know, right, Champ Ross? He fighting in an 8-rounder. They owe him that much, though. Al Heyman is the one that blocked the Leo Santa Cruz fight. They owe him that much. Like, y'all better get his career off the ground. Y'all are the ones that led to his downfall. Y'all blocked the Leo Santa Cruz fight. He could have used the fight like that. Y'all took that away from him. Y'all bought out Leo's contract and blocked the fight as they was making the fight. So that's a bold prediction, Akuma. I'd pick Usyk, but I'd pick Usyk on points. It's hard to imagine that he would knock out Dillian. It's really hard to imagine. Amateur match was AJ. Oh yeah, I knew that, James Burrell. I knew that. That's why I was waiting for they That's why when they fought in the pros, I already knew the whole backstory. That was a part of what sold me on Anthony Joshua. That he doesn't need to be in that fight right now, but they putting him in that fight because they believe in him. If they didn't believe in him, they would have treated him like Wilder and had him fight a bunch of club fighters. But they believed in him, so they let him have that fight. That's a good point, Akuma. You right about that shit, but yeah, you right about that shit, man. You right about that shit. I could see that. Yeah, you right. That's feasible. That Dylan could tire and the KO might. That's feasible. That's feasible. That's fair to say because Dillian Whyte does gas. He does get tired, you know. But I like a lot of people saw the last the Chisora rematch, and I saw people saying different shit. And what I'm like is, you know, Dillian Whyte is being more economic so that he don't get tired like he did in the first fight. That's why he's being economic. That's why he not just getting sucked into a war like he did before. And that's why he had enough pop to knock out Chisora. Because Chisora's swinging for the fences. He coming forward. He doing all this shit. By the time the later rounds roll around, you tired, and I'm not. So when I hit you with this left hook, you gonna see. Ooh, you know what I would like? Povetkin versus Pulev. Or Povetkin versus Ortiz. Ooh, I would love those fights. Those would be tasty fights. Tasty fights. Ooh. Well, you know Parker, man. Parker, he don't throw a lot, man. And Parker pissed me off because he can actually box, but it's like he don't realize, yo, I'm a heavyweight. I'm not a fucking, I'm not a fucking 140 pounder. I'm way too like I don't know, dog. Like Parker just aggravate me, man. Povetkin Ortiz, ooh, that to me is a pay-per-view worthy fight. I could honestly say I would pay to see that shit. Ooh, that's a good fight. Why can't they make that fight? Mm. Oh, he's coming back. I mean, I think that he's gearing a comeback. You know, so he's a good fighter. Ruiz is a good fighter. It's close, man. It's close. I agree 100%, Leon, because that's what I mean. That he don't have that killer instinct. Like, yo, you gotta hit the gas, bro. You a fucking heavyweight. Hit the gas. Ooh, that'd be a good fight. And White versus Miller. Ooh, that'd be a good fight. I need to make that shit. I agree 100%, Ty. You right about that shit. I need to make that fight. I mean, it's a lot of good fights to make at heavyweight that don't even involve titles. It's a lot of good fights to make. Shit. Joyce, he getting in the mix, calling out Ortiz. He got guts, man. Guts. Now, Miller gonna be all right, man. Miller gonna be all right. Trust me. Miller gonna be all right. Miller's gonna be okay, man. He from Brooklyn. He gonna be okay. Parker's only 25 years old. Wow, dog. That explains that angst that he got. He still smiles like he's scared to take a picture. Like, be grinning and shit. Man, I wish there was, man, because some of those fights are really good fights. Some of those fights are really, really good fights. 100%. If you ain't got the kind of power to get respect from Jarrell Miller, then it's going to be a long night, because that's a 300-pound man that's walking you down with that bully style, and he throwing them bombs on you. Yeah, I know. I've been to about Pulev, man. Pulev got back into position for a title shot. What do you think about Oscar Rivas, the fella I got to get a look at him. I haven't had a look at him yet. I know the fight is in like 2 weeks. I want to see, I want to watch some film on him. That's a good-ass fight, Punch quote. It really is a good-ass fight, man. Like, every fight ought to be for a belt for it to be a good-ass fight. That's a magnificent fucking fight. Do you think Wilder will lose his belt by loss or by a strip? The WBC won't strip him, Akuma. They won't strip him. Trust me. Remember, he already has a mandatory that's already in line. For some reason, they gave him an okay to fight Tyson Fury when Tyson Fury ain't even got a belt. So you can't say it's a unification fight that trumps a mandatory. You're not unifying shit. But they let him fight Fury, and they about to let him have a rematch. So trust me when I tell you, the WBC will not strip him. They got something going on, bro. Trust me. It's the reason that they picked Brazil as the mandatory instead of Dylan White when Dylan White was number 1 and Brazil was like number 4 or number 5. But they picked Brazil as the mandatory instead of Dylan White. It's a reason for that shit, bro. Who is Wilder gonna fight after Brazil? Well, this is the thing, bro. The most catastrophic thing that could happen to Deontay Wilder is if Tyson Fury decides not to fight. That will literally destroy all his plans. It will. It'll destroy all his plans. It'll bring him back to a place that he don't think he at. That look, if it's not Tyson Fury, a lot ain't really changed for you. You might have went viral a little bit. People are talking about you. But when they ask people to pay to see you fight, that's when reality gonna hit you. The most catastrophic thing that can happen to Deontay Wilder is if Fury nixes the rematch. Then you gotta fight Brazil, I guess. And then people gonna say, well, why the fuck are you fighting Brazil when Anthony Joshua was right there? Like, why are you fighting? Well, you can't tell me that it's okay for you to fight Brazil because you want to hold out for 50%. All we gonna say is, bro, you holding up the fight and you pricing yourself out. And we actually buy fights. Y'all motherfuckers don't. Trust me, James, they are not gonna strip him, dog. They're not. If there was any threat of Deontay Wilder being stripped, they would have never allowed the Fury fight. They would have never allowed that fight. Fury does not have a belt, so it's not a unification fight. In which case, how does Fury end up getting a title shot ahead of Brazil? Oh, I know, it's a voluntary. But y'all was saying, yo, he can't fight Dylan White, he got a mandatory. Oh, but he can fight Tyson Fury? Straight ducking, Slapnuts. Straight ducking. The most catastrophic thing that can happen to Wilder is if Fury decides, fuck you, I'ma chill because I know my stock is high where I live at, and I don't need you to make money because I can stay where I live at. If I fight in the UK against some interesting, semi-interesting guys, I can make good money, and I won't need you. It's a legitimate question, Leon. Like, if y'all telling me that, oh, he got to fight Brazil next, that's what y'all telling me. But y'all let him fight Fury. Fury don't got no belt. It's wild, man. It's wild, man. It really is. But it's all games, man. The WBC went back to their crooked-ass ways, man. It looked like in 2016, they turned the page and they was going to start doing their job. 2017 rolled around and they wasn't doing their job, man. The 4 is the IBF. They the only ones that's going to do their job. All these other motherfuckers going to do whatever they want. I don't think they will strip him, but I think they will stop protecting him and make him take some good... I'm telling you, James, it's not going to happen, bro. Don't hold... Bro, it's a wonder they let him get away with how much he's getting away with. Seriously. I'm telling you. How does Stiverne... How the fuck did Stiverne end up being a mandatory, dog? Thank you, Don King. Thank you. You negotiate that situation. How is it after 2 years of doing absolutely nothing, you get a mandatory position? Why didn't they just make you fight the next guy in line for that mandatory spot? Thank you, Don King. Crooked-ass WBC, it ain't never gonna change, man. Wilder should have got Brazil out the way a while ago. It's a 4-round fight, man. Anyway, I'ma holler at y'all, man. It's been good talking to y'all. Careful where you get your news from.